Hi everyone. 4 weeks now I've been putting in extra hours at the office, working late into the night. The reason I wanted to finish my work early and spend more time with my kids especially. During breakfast and school runs, it's been a routine I've been sticking to diligently. But tonight something unusual happened. My boss recognized my dedication and allowed me to leave halfway through my usual shift. I felt relieved. It was a reward for all the hard work I'd poured into a project that was now finally completed. As I drove home, my thoughts were filled with anticipation of some quality family time. I was looking forward to seeing my little ones tucked safely in their beds. However, what awaited me at home was beyond my wildest expectations and not in a good way. When I walked through the front door, a shocking sight froze me in my tracks. There, on our beloved sofa, was my wife in a compromising situation with some other guy. My mind went blank and I instinctively grabbed my keys, rushing out of the house in disbelief. Now I find myself back in the familiar confines of my office trying to make sense of the chaos that has suddenly engulfed my life. My phone is buzzing incessantly with calls and texts from my wife, each message begging me to return so she can explain everything. But at this moment I just can't. I'm seething with anger and confusion. Never in my wildest dreams did I imagine my wife would betray our vows like this. We've been married for well over a decade. And although we've had our fair share of arguments, who hasn't? I've given her everything she asked for, including our beautiful 3 kids. Now I find myself standing at a crossroads, completely lost and unsure of what steps to take next. I desperately need advice as I'm grappling with the overwhelming sense of betrayal and hurt that has shattered my world. Update. It's been only 9 days since I last shared the shocking news of discovering my wife in a compromising situation with her affair partner on our sofa. Let me start by saying that the situation has now escalated to unimaginable proportions, and I hardly know where to begin. I've had to take time off work and I won't be returning until I'm emotionally ready to face the world again. Some of you wondered why I didn't resort to violence against the guy involved. Well, one reason I refrained from that was the fear of getting arrested, which could have led to social services getting involved and complicating an already messy divorce process. Following your advice, I promptly took action to secure our financial assets. I removed my wife from access to our kids' trust funds and my personal bank account, just in case she tried to drain them dry. Mind you, she has her own account for the money she earns at her job. Shockingly, she attempted to empty the accounts just 2 days after my initial post. For the record, I had already taken care of paying the bills for the house and cars even before this chaotic situation unfolded. I didn't waste any time. I went to the doctor for an SATD check just days after my last post and fortunately, I received a clean bill of health. Then I had a lengthy meeting with a team of divorce lawyers to understand the next steps. Given my background as a computer technician, I have remote access to our home computer and the secondary laptop the kids use for school. Well, what I discovered was beyond belief. My dear wife had carelessly left herself log into her Facebook account. In a sea of messages, I stumbled upon countless exchanges with her affair partner, filled with photos, explicit messages, evidence of bills paid for hotels, and arrangements for their secret rendezvous. As it turns out, this affair has been ongoing for a staggering 7 years. Her affair partner happens to be the little brother of her best friend, and she initiated this affair when he was just 19. All this evidence has been handed over to the lawyers, and there's no turning back now. I have to wait for a few months to initiate the divorce process due to the pandemic backlog in the legal system. Furthermore, any remnants of trust in our marriage have been utterly shattered, making it clear that no amount of couples counseling can salvage what's left. 4 days ago, I finally returned home, packed her bags and showed her the door. The kids are with me and after a difficult conversation with all 3 of them, they now understand that mommy won't be coming back, but they can still see her. Despite my anger towards her, I refuse to be the parent who withholds access to the kids. My in-laws and my own family are now aware of what their daughter and sister have done, straining her relationship with them. Her best friend publicly criticized me on Facebook for walking out on her and the kids. My brother-in-law even posted a link to my Reddit post on Facebook, resulting in widespread knowledge of the situation before the post was taken down. As for my wife, I haven't spoken a single word to her since that dreadful night, and all communication will now go through the lawyers. I have text messages from her threatening to ruin me in court, accusing me of being controlling and abusive, but I forwarded all these to my legal team. The latest development in this saga is that I'm awaiting the results of a paternity test to determine if the kids are mine. The affair partner insisted on being tested to confirm if the younger 2 are his, But for the time being, the kids are with me and my wife has chosen to live with her affair partner. Update number 2. 2 tests have come and gone and journey has been quite the roller coaster. The first test was due to a contamination issue, which added an extra layer of complexity. It's been 2 weeks since I received the results and let me tell you, my life has taken an unexpected turn. You see, I've gone from being the proud parent of 3 kids, to having just one who is biologically mine, the eldest. In these past 2 weeks, a lot has happened. My ex's affair partner's parents managed to secure emergency custody of the younger 2 children. Their reasoning? Well, it all boils down to the fact that I'm not a blood relative to them. I can't even begin to explain how hard I've tried to fight for them in court, but sometimes the legal system just doesn't seem to work in your favor. Now, I'm doing my best to stay strong for my son, who is my biological child. But it feels like the ground has been ripped out from under us, and we're left trying to find our footing in this new reality. To make matters easier or maybe just more manageable, I've decided to put our house on the market. I can't bear to live there anymore. Every corner, every room and every memory is a constant reminder of the kids I've lost. Currently, my son and I are living in a small 2-bedroom apartment. It's a far cry from the house we once called home, but it's a fresh start of sorts. We're both in therapy together, trying to work through the emotional turmoil that has gripped us. My son is dealing with trust issues, particularly when it comes to his mother. Not seeing his younger siblings every day has taken a toll on him and it's heart-wrenching to witness. So, as we navigate this challenging chapter in our lives, we're doing our best to hold on to hope and healing, even though the pain of separation lingers in our hearts. Story number 2, my wife has figured it out. 5 years ago, shortly after my divorce, a new chapter in my life began when I met a woman at a concert. She was a bit younger than me, but there was an instant connection, and we ended up spending time at a bar with my friends after the show. It was a fun night and we decided to exchange numbers. Back then, I wasn't really into social media except for Facebook, and that was mainly to keep up with my kids' school and activities. So, we didn't become Facebook friends, we just stuck to texting each other. Initially, our texts were pretty casual, occasionally a bit flirty, but nothing that hinted at any sexual interest. Surprisingly, we both lived just 20 minutes away from each other, yet we never took the step to meet up or see each other in person. Over a few weeks of texting, we realized that we were both planning to attend the same concert again, this time in another city. It was going to be a guy's weekend for me and a girl's weekend for her. On the day of the concert, she and her friends met me and my friends beforehand. We decided to do some bar hopping together. Her friends were all younger than mine, and I was the only single one in my group. We noticed that none of these girls were wearing wedding rings, so we assumed they weren't married. Since we were all just friends, their age didn't bother me much. At the time, I wasn't looking for a serious relationship anyway. After visiting a few bars, we headed to the concert. Her friends had floor tickets while my friends and I had seats. I figured that would be the end of our night together. But as it turned out, right after the concert, she texted me and asked if I wanted to join her for more drinks. She was at a place near my hotel, so I agreed. I went out expecting to meet her and her friends, but it ended up being just her. It was a pretty quick change of plans, and we headed back to my hotel almost as soon as we met up. It was quite an unexpected twist. After that night, she began coming over to my house during the day. My job allowed me to work from home, and she had some flexibility in her schedule for work-related travel, so she would visit after my kids went to school and leave before they came back. Sometimes she was practically at my place for the entire school day, even on days when it wasn't my turn to have the kids. Our relationship never involved nighttime meetings or weekends. It was more of a friends with benefits arrangement, which suited me perfectly. I was deeply involved in my children's lives, even coaching their sports teams, so it never interfered with my responsibilities or my time with them and my friends. I made it clear to her from the beginning that I wasn't interested in a committed relationship, especially not with someone much younger, who might want to start a family. I was done having kids. She understood my stance, and she also claimed that she wasn't looking for a serious relationship. This dynamic continued for almost a year, until I met someone new, my now wife. I decided to end things with the woman from my past, and she was fine with that too. Afterward, we never exchanged texts again, and life moved forward. A year after I met my wife, we tied the knot. 2 years ago, I unexpectedly crossed paths with the woman from my past again, this time at a neighborhood gathering. My wife and I were introduced to her and her husband by a mutual friend. They had recently moved into the house right next to my friends. When we first saw each other, there was no awkwardness. We exchanged smiles and greetings. Later that evening, I shared our history with my wife, who is very understanding and accepting of our respective past. No big deal. Her husband turned out to be a cool guy, and he started hanging out with my group of friends, becoming friends with us as well. This year, he even joined one of my fantasy football leagues, which led us to become Facebook friends. After connecting on social media, he sent a friend request to my wife, who took a peek at his profile and noticed a detail that piqued her curiosity. She asked me how long ago I had been in a friends with benefits relationship with his wife. It struck me that it had been 5 years since then. My wife showed me a recent post by her husband, which mentioned that they had been married for 8 years.